It's quite an honor to be here today and to listen to candidates for mayor. We have 3 of our 4 candidates here. Mr. Noble, who's the 4th candidate, is in court this morning. He's an attorney, and so he will not be able to be here today. But we still have 3 of our candidates, and you will get introduced to them. We have questions for them, and all I can ask you to do, be attentive, be respectful, and 18 and you have the option of voting, then please exercise your right. May 3rd is the primaries, and then the final, the regular election then will be in November. So please use today as a way to educate yourself and decide on who you would like to see for mayor of Elyria. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Andy Young, who is seated up here at the table, and he is going to be moderating today's debate. He is editor for the Chronicle-Telegram. So let's give him a round of applause.
Good morning, and welcome to this debate with a Democratic and 1 Republican candidate running for mayor in the upcoming primary. We appreciate your attention and respect for the candidates as they respond to a series of questions presented by the Student Council of Elyria High School. As John said, I'm Andy Young, editor of the Chronicle-Telegram, and I will moderate today's debate. We have with us Mayor Bill Grace, Holly Brinda, and David Ersie Jr. Would everyone please join me in welcoming the candidates? The rules for the debate will be as follows. Each candidate will be given a 5-minute opening statement. After opening statements, there will be a series of 6 questions. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to the questions. After all 6 questions have been asked, each candidate will be given a 5-minute closing statement. Opening and closing statements, as well as all 6 questions, will be rotated among candidates so that everyone has 2 opportunities to respond first. The timekeepers will raise their hands when each candidate has 1 minute 30 seconds left, and then they will both raise their hands at the end of each time period. The audience will be asked to refrain from any applause or any type of comments. Thank you. Now let's begin the debate. We will start with the first opening statement, which will be given by Mayor Bill Grace.
Good morning. 2007 will be one of the years that will be recorded in a local history as one of Elyria's defining moments. For it was the year that Elyria and Elyria Township residents came together and supported Issue 7, the bond issue to build the new Elyria High School. This magnificent place of learning and source of community pride, I believe, will serve as a catalyst for great community achievements for many generations to come. 4 years ago seems like months, not years, as Superintendent Rigda and I met with corporate leaders that contributed most of the money that financed the bond issue campaign and met with the many community groups whose members supported that campaign. I've never felt as proud of our community as I did that spring of 2007. This is indeed special to be standing on this stage. It was even more special yesterday while I was sitting in the audience watching the performance of The King and I. What an exceptional, entertaining show and display of talent. Wow. For those that weren't here, you missed a great show, and those who were, we all saw a great show. Good morning, Mr. Young and the student body of Elyria High School. Thank you for hosting this important opportunity for our community to be more informed about the May 3rd primary election for mayor of Elyria. To the Elyria City Schools and Superintendent Mr. Rigda, Elyria High School Principal Mr. Conley, Student Council Co-Presidents Ms. Simons and Ms. Gibbons, and your advisors Mr. Shepka and Amanda Belcher. Thank you all for your role in hosting this mayoral debate and welcoming us into your magnificent home. These are tough times for older industrial communities across America, placing us in a position where we must continually find new ways to deliver services with fewer resources. While my administration hasn't succeeded at all of our attempts, we have been extremely successful. We restructured many city departments, while responsibly we reduced the size of Elyria government in the general fund by 22%. We balanced 11 consecutive budgets during every year in office, proving that in these difficult economy, government can still live within its means. We've won over $43 million in competitive grants to improve our community and reduce the cost to Elyria residents. The downtown area has benefited from over $250 million in new construction projects during my administration, over half of which has been in the last 2 years alone. The city has invested $28 million in street improvements and $15 million in water and sewer improvements also in the last 2 years. And this year there will be over $33 million in water, sewer, and street improvements. All told, in the last 3 years of this current 4-year term, the city will have invested over $76 million in water, sewer, and street improvements in our community. We are also looking to the future with such programs as our new automated trash pickup program, which began this past December, which saves money and helps protect the environment by encouraging recycling. We've worked to consolidate our fire department's dispatch operations with Lorain County 911 and are working to do the same with law enforcement. This will make it possible to put more safety forces, police officers, and firefighters on the streets protecting our community. Also, we are working with the City of Lorain and county leaders exploring new ways to consolidate health department services to maximize our ability to care for our residents. If we are to be a community of choice for families and businesses in the future, we must continue to push to improve the quality of our community. When I took office as mayor of Elyria, I did so having prepared myself by serving 3 terms on city council over a 10-year period. This preparation provided me with the knowledge and relationships to effectively begin serving as mayor at a very high level. That preparation, along with the skills learned and the relationships developed during the years that I have served as mayor, positions me to be able to lead Elyria for the next 4 years at a level far surpassing what my opponent, Mrs. Brinda, could possibly attain, especially when you consider that she has no municipal government experience. At this critical period in our history, there is no margin for the errors that come from inexperience. However well-intentioned my opponent may be, it would be unwise to turn the leadership and management of this complex city over to someone so unprepared. This election is about building on our successes of recent years and not going backwards. I thank you for your attention and participation, and I look forward to the questions to come. Thank you.
Next will be Holly Brinda.
Good morning. Thank you so very much to the Elyria High School Student Council, faculty, and staff for welcoming us here today. I agree with Mayor Grace. This is a fabulous facility, and as chairperson of the Build the Dream, Shape the Future capital campaign, there's one thing I know. It took everybody in this city to build this facility, so I think you deserve a round of applause. We have a very important decision to make on May 3rd. We can keep things the way we are, or we can make a change in the top to help move our city forward. If you're happy with the way things are, keep Mayor Grace. But if you think Elyria needs to do a better job of listening, being responsive and accountable, managing your money, making Elyria safer, keeping and adding jobs and businesses, improving your roads, restoring your parks and pools, making downtown and midway areas more vibrant, and creating opportunities for our youth, then I would encourage you to consider voting for me. Here's why. I will come to the job of mayor with more tools than Mayor Grace. Here's what I mean. First, I come to the job with a plan to help Elyria city government work for you. When Mayor Grace came to the job 12 years ago, he had no plan. When he initiated a planning process 5 years later, there was little public follow-up, and the plan still sits on the shelf. The plan I present is not complicated. It includes 10 steps based on best management practices and proven strategies in other cities to help us get Elyria back on the road to recovery. It also provides you with an opportunity to voice your opinion about what our priorities should be as a community. Second, I have more relevant education to ensure a plan actually gets executed. Mayor Grace came to the job with an associate's degree. That is still his highest formal level of education. I come to the job with a master's degree in public administration, the same degree required of city managers. Third, I come to the job with more relevant outside work and managerial experience. Mayor Grace came to the job with part-time real estate experience. In fact, it took him over 11 years to present a reorganization plan to City Council intended to make better use of dwindling resources, and he didn't propose a dime of savings. I will come to the job with 27 years of director and vice president level management experience in large public serving organizations. I have led people, programs, and projects. I am an expert in budgeting, planning, resource development, marketing, and consensus building. And I've leveraged over to $50 million in government grants and private philanthropy in my career. And I promise I won't propose any tax increases until every department has been audited, efficient management practices are in place, and we have a plan that we can agree on to use our money wisely. Fourth, I come to the job with an understanding of the needs of Elyria families and the importance of working together and sometimes compromising. As a working wife and mother of 4 grown college-degreed children, I've learned a lot about the challenges that families face, especially in these tough economic times. I understand mom and dad need jobs, kids need things to do to keep them entertained, and I understand the value of listening first and the give and take in relationships that's required to go the distance. And I understand self-sacrifice, putting the needs of others before myself. And that may be where the mayor and I differ the most. I honestly believe our city is in decline, not because we don't care, but because we don't trust. When I talk to Illyrians, the 2 main reasons you say you've rejected the mayor's tax proposals 88% of the time is that the mayor refuses to listen to what you want and are willing to pay for, and he wastes the money he has. That bears out in his actions. Last May, some members of City Council asked the mayor to consider a temporary tax over a permanent tax. He said no, the issue failed. The Citizens Financial Review Board made recommendations to improve city finances. They were ignored. Citizens participated in a planning process, and there's been little follow-up in over 6 years. And now, the Cascade Master Plan meeting notes cite the mayor as saying the city plans to close all its pools and would like to open a central pool near downtown. The mayor wants to take away our pools without asking us what we want or are willing to pay for. And then there's the issue of misguided priorities and putting his needs before others. In the deepest economic downturn since the Great Depression, when Illyrians are losing their jobs, our mayor has chosen to accept almost $700 a month for travel, whether he drives or not. Spent $1,250 redesigning the city seal and creating a mayor seal. Found $2.5 million carryover in the police budget in the middle of a police tax. Wasted almost $50,000 planting many bushes and ditches along Route 57, and bought garbage trucks before knowing they wouldn't fit in any city garages, then commissioned a $25,000 study to figure out where to put them, only to see the deal fall through. It's these kinds of behaviors that erode trust, and when taxpayers don't trust public officials, they stop giving them money. Today, I humbly ask you to consider the opportunity to use my education experience to make Elyria City government work for you. Thank you.
Next will be David Ersie Jr.
I got 2 big acts to follow. My name's Dave Ersie Jr. I'm a union plumber, and I lived in Elyria now by choice about 20 years. This is a great place. I've built many high schools. I'm looking over here, and I'm like, man, I know what the guy's doing, you know. I have no political experience. That's the truth. In our Constitution, we have the responsibility, not right, the responsibility to redress. Every point of authority need to be challenged periodically and proven that they're good and they're right. George Washington was a revolutionary. He was a leader. And he had no experience becoming a president. People wanted him to do that because he had a leadership. He had moral integrity. Abraham Lincoln did the same thing. During the hard times, that man stepped to the plate and he says, you know what, this country's not going to last. We have to rearrange some things here, and we went to war over that. And, that man lost his life because of that. And here in the 1900s, well, I should say the last 1900s, we had another man step to the plate. It was, I forgot his name now. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Martin Luther King Jr., he saw things that were not right again. The leadership was challenged again, and he organized. That's that word union, that unity word. He organized people, and he says, this has to stop. And they changed the laws to make things better. You know, these people were pioneers. Were there any pioneers here? Okay. You are our future, people. King Solomon told his son, listen to the words of my father, King David. Though it may cost you everything, get understanding. Wisdom is supreme. Make an informed decision who you're voting for. I personally am involved with outreach ministries through my church. We go to Wicksville, we go to different neighborhoods in Lorraine. It's to change the hearts of the people. One of the things we do with this crime in the area, that needs to stop. I encourage men to get involved with their children. I mean, I come from a divorced family. My parents were divorced. And I was jealous of the kids that had mom and dad there. But my dad was involved in my life. I mean, he was a union plumber. That's where I am today. And I give my parents a lot of credit for doing a great job considering the circumstances, They were trying to raise children with two different households. But they put something in me. It was a heritage. It was a legacy. I'm a Christian man, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I am involved with community outreach, How many of you guys know about the Heaven Train bus? I'm involved with that. We do upper basketball. My wife and I do. I have friends that I bring to church with me. I'm not going to mention his name, but he works at the Murray Ridge workshop, and he's proud of that. I pick him up every Sunday, every Wednesday, and we hang out during the summer months all the time. And we went to school here, actually, and that's how far back we go. And he's a personal friend of mine. But this is the kind of stuff that I do. I'm laid off right now. This economy's not been good to all of us. Some of it has been, and some people have taken advantage of that, and we can't have that. In my household, we have financial responsibility. I was called yesterday to purchase a car. Wanted to, but I didn't tell the man. I'm like, well, I can't. I had to confer with my wife first. She's my accountability partner. And that's a unity, that union word. And we all here are Illyrians. That makes us united. And then we have fellow unities of other cities around us that we need to partner with. And both these people brought up great things that need to be addressed. But I'm just a grassroots kind of guy, and I just don't like what's going on. We need to change it about, and I'm willing to step to the plate. This is supposed to be for the people, of the people, and by the people. We're supposed to be a democracy where the voices of the people are heard, and we choose by a majority how we want to run our country, our city. I did call that guy back because my wife says, yes, purchase that car. It was for a demolition derby. And that's the kind of stuff that I do, My wife says, oh, do it, Lord. She loves me doing that kind of stuff. But this is the kind of person I am. I'm a beekeeper. I'm a part of the Audubon Society, where we look after bluebird trails. And that's, well, I have nothing more to say, I guess. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
We will now begin the round of questions. Let me remind you, I've given the audience a chance to applaud the opening statements, but let's refrain from applause or any comments with the questions. Asking the first question will be Alexis Chismadia, who will be addressing roads in our city.
If elected mayor, what are your plans on improving the roads in Elyria, such as Lake Avenue, East River, West River, Cleveland Street, and Abbey Roads?
Holly Brinda will begin this round. Holly?
Thank you, Alexis. I think one of the things that we know is that we've got some road challenges in Elyria. The first thing that I think is important to note is that we don't have a long-range infrastructure plan to address our roads over an extended period of time. So one of the first things I would do is put together an infrastructure plan that looks at all of our roads. But more importantly, we need a fix-it-first policy to address immediate roadway hazards that cause safety issues. Right now, we choose roads by ward. Our council people vote on the roads that they think need the most assistance. distance, but there are roads in our city that are traveled by more people, and I think we need to put our resources where the roads are used the most. So I think having an infrastructure plan, looking at a fix-it-first policy, we have monies allocated in our city to address these issues. People are taxed a license plate fee, and there's about $350,000 a year spent on license plate fees. Well, people assumed when they paid for their license plate fee that all that money would go into fixing potholes and all those other things. And sometimes what happens, that money gets used for other purposes, like to match other road funds that are developing larger projects. But that kind of leaves a problem because we have other infrastructure needs in our city that are more immediate, like big potholes in our streets. So in terms of the specific roads that you asked about, I know that the city has used does have some plans to address some of those issues. We receive American Recovery Improvement Act monies. We receive Ohio Issue 2 grants and monies, and I know that there are some upcoming projects related to those monies that are forthcoming: Ford Road Bridge, West River, Gulf Road, and North Abbey Road. I believe will be done this summer. So, thank you.
Next will be David Ersie Jr. David?
Same question, I presume?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was watching the news the other day, and they said the chuck holes in Cleveland, which I work out there quite often, very similar here in Elyria. I consider Elyria like a little Cleveland, you know. We're like a main hub to the county. Roads are just as bad, and I was curious how much damage it does to I have an old truck, it's 30-some years old that I drive to work every day. On the news they said it's $1,000 a year damage to someone's vehicle. And now I really, really take interest in these doggone roads. You know, there's a street sweep that goes down the street every year. I believe it's about $125,000 to pay for that. I sweep my street. I take responsibility, I step to the plate. During hard times, my wife will tell you, she was in a hurricane in Florida, everybody gathered together and united, and they worked for the better of everyone. You know, us citizens can do things to cut down the budget. If we didn't have to have the street sweeper, everyone would go out there. It took me 5 minutes. I have 3 times as much property frontage as other people do. That money can be allocated back, back to that. Snow plowing. I plow my street. I've never seen a city plow go down my street before. If they do, it's after I've already plowed it or middle of the night. But that's the kind of proactive responsibilities I take. And funds do need to be redirected. And there are things that we can do as citizens to free up. And one thing is going to happen when I take office. $20,000 is going to go back of my personal money. My income is going to be reduced by $25,000. That goes back to the city because I have intentions of investing where I believe there's going to be prosperity.
Next will be Mayor Grace. Mayor?
Roads are among our various highest priorities. Public safety relative to police and fire, that's where most of our city's funds are spent. Roads are of critical importance. A number of years ago, we adjusted the license plate fees. In fact, we spend in collecting license plate fees approximately $1.1 million, not the $350,000 that was just described. When I took office 11 years ago, I recognized that federal funds was going to be the biggest opportunity to improve the quality of the roads in our city. Up to that point, the city of Elyria, for a city-sponsored road project, received 0 federal funds from our metropolitan planning organization in Cleveland that provides these and distributes these federal funds. I very much engaged in that organization, ultimately became president of NOACA about 2 years ago, and along the way learned what was necessary to bring those federal dollars to Elyria. We brought in over $25 million to Elyria in those federal funds to improve the roads in Elyria, funds that Elyria had never seen before. We built the long-awaited Bullocks Parkway, the twin bridges to nowhere that your parents may recall. We received about $18 million for Route 57, $1 million on East River. That was, Alexis, one of your questions, that we reconstructed East River. There's about $3.5 million coming to us later in the year for West River from 57 north to the city limits along Midway Mall. And there's millions of more dollars coming to the city of Elyria. It takes an aggressive individual, as I have, in the years that I have been mayor to seek these outside funds. That's the best way for us to overall improve the quality of our roads, to leverage our local dollars against these federal dollars, where for every 20 cents that we spend, we get 80 cents of federal dollars. So the roads are not where they need to be, but they have made, great strides in being improved, and we're going further with additional roads. You'll see this year in the neighborhood of $20 million in road projects taking place in the city of Elyria.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The second question will be presented by Megan Gibbons, who will be addressing Parks and Recreation.
What do you see for the future for the parks and recreation areas?
Our first answer will come from David Ersie Jr. Mr. Ursi?
Okay, thank you. I didn't understand your question thoroughly. You were asking, what do I see for the parks and recs? Okay, I just wanted... Cascade Park belongs to the city of Elyria, and, there could be a partnership, made with the Metro Park system on a temporary basis. See how we benefit with that. Recently, the city took money out of the street fund and put it towards the pool budget to get the 2 pools open. There are a lot of things to be done at Cascade Park alone. What about like a competition mountain bike trail in Ely Park? I mean, that raises funds. That brings people there. I mean, I enjoy sledding. My sleds are in my truck right now. And I probably have to take them out because we're out of season. But I benefit from this Cascade Park all the time. I ride my mountain bike there. There are a lot of... I think if we were to come alongside the Metro Park system, we could see what they're doing, maybe get some ideas from them, see how a temporary basis goes, and we could probably permanently partner with them. There are a lot of fees that are being charged at the pools. I'd like to see some of them pools be free to some of our inner city kids. You understand what I'm saying? But that takes extra additional money. And I think we need to partner and look at what other cities have done. And there's Cory Booker at New York has revolutionized his position as mayor in his city, and I'm adamantly following his lead on some things. And so I close.
Next will be Mayor Grace. Mr. Mayor?
One of the things that we need to look at within our Parks Department budget is being more cost-effective. During the economic downturn that hit us, the Great Recession 2 years ago, we looked at all our highest priorities. Police and fire, as I described earlier, is our absolute highest of priorities. So we needed to cut every other budget, every other department down as much as possible to preserve funds for those 2 departments. Parks being one of them. We have 2 primary areas of our Parks and Recreation program. Parks, which would be more our maintenance side of maintaining our facilities, and recreation, the component that represents the recreational programming. One thing that we've done in reorganizing and consolidating activities within these different departments is we consolidated actions within our street department and our parks department so that those individuals that are working on maintenance in our city work more collaboratively together. We had to thin out some of our recreational programs and raise fees so that they can cover the costs of providing those facilities. Going forward, I believe, given the priorities and limited resources, that we need to adjust our programs to be more cost-effective. Now, we have sought outside grants for improvements to the parks. We built 2 new restroom and pavilions at both South Park and West Park. They will be completed here in the next week or so. So those are improvements to the parks. Cascade Park, we built a few years ago a bridge over the west branch of the Black River, offering beautiful views of that beautiful waterfalls, as well as the branch observation deck for the East Falls. So I see going forward, the final thing we have to look at is within our swimming pools. Consolidating those pools is probably the direction that we need to go. We conducted a city survey 2 years ago, and 54% of the residents favored going to a central pool. It still needs further study, but the early indications suggest that a central, more glamorous pool would be more well received within our community and more cost-effective, so we can provide the balance of the programs within our Parks and Recreation Department.
Next will be Holly Brinda. Mrs. Brinda?
I don't know about you, but I think our parks and pools are one of the unique assets in our city. How many of you have used the parks and pools? Okay. One of the things that Elyria is talking about is consolidating, as Mayor Grace said, all of our pools into one central pool. One of the things that makes Elyria unique is the fact that we have things for children to do in their own neighborhoods. And Elyria is a blue-collar town. We don't have a lot of money, but we have a lot of pride, and we really care about our city. And I don't know about you, but when I was a child, I liked to walk to our parks and our pools, and I think you probably did too. The other thing is, a lot of children don't have a way to get to a central pool. What do you do if mom and dad are working, and you don't have a paid babysitter or a nanny? I think there's some real issues associated with accessibility of having a central aquatic center in our city where it's very difficult for children to get to. Realtors will tell you one of the assets in our community has always been our parks and pools. Without that, we're losing a very important community asset. Beyond that, I think people need certainly safety is at the top of our agenda. We need to put our safety forces first. And one of the rationale has been, we've made our pools and parks secondary because we needed the money for safety. But there are other ways in our community to create efficiencies and save money, to put money back into the pools. I think we've used that as an excuse to close some of our pools, to make them unusable so that we could move towards this agenda. I don't necessarily have an agenda about the parks and pools, but I do think the people of Elyria deserve an opportunity to weigh in. I think they deserve an opportunity to look at the costs and benefits of what it would cost to have neighborhood pools versus a central pool, and look at it in the context of the larger budget process, saying, this is what Elyria can look like under this scenario, and this is Elyria what can look like in this scenario, and give them a choice. Don't make the decision for them. Thank you.
The third question will be presented by Monica Bax, who will be addressing Elyria's reputation.
We have all heard the saying, perception is reality. As a member of Student Council, I have had the opportunity to meet many people from Ohio. From experience, I have realized that the way Elyria is perceived is not always positive. How will you work to improve the perception of Elyria?
Because we're missing Mr. Noble, the order of answering the questions will be the same as it was last time, so David Ursi will begin. Mr. Ursi.
Yeah, being I do not work in Elyria, often I work in other cities, we do take a black eye. And it's not, one bad apple will spoil the bunch. Our crime rate is just crazy. If men got involved with their kids, first off, it would be preoccupied, and then the children, hopefully, will see the fathers involved. And maybe the outcome of the children will be turned out differently. The roads and then trash. I walked in here today and two people dropped trash on the ground. And my character, I say, you dropped something. I was nice about it, but that's the kind of stuff that has to change, Now, the fine for littering is substantially high. If we were to start holding people accountable financially, there's free money there. There's money freed up there that could be put towards different issues like the roads, like our crime rates. Maybe if you took these people out there living all the time, you got them up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Friday and 4 o'clock in the morning, Saturday and Sunday, they made them work from 4 to 8 o'clock early in the morning. They would think twice about littering, making us look bad. The crime rate, people live in the community. There's outreach programs. There's community watch programs. I mean, evil will remain to exist when the good quit fighting. We need to stand up and hold each other accountable. And like I said with the roads, people don't like that. The crime, roads, trash, and this is the hardcore essentials, and then from then on, we should start blossoming up. That's what we should be doing. And that will attract people here, make us look better. But we have to change our own hearts, moral integrity.
Next will be Mayor Grace. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, among the things that people look for, and clearly your question is extremely appropriate, because I spent a great deal of time in regional discussions and initiatives in northeastern Ohio, and in many regards there is a negative perception in parts of Lorain County and Elyria and Lorain, and we need to address that. And I would suggest that probably the three biggest areas that relate to our perception have to do with crime and its reporting. We're the county seat, so we get recognized in in newspaper articles for many of the court cases, being the county seat that are recognized in Elyria. But that's why we have to also preserve funds for our police department so that we can do the best job possible at addressing crimes. The next area that's of critical importance is the quality of our schools. And this new Elyria High School is a very important catalyst, I believe, for bringing positive attention to our community. The next area that's of great importance is the quality of our community. The old model used to be that you would try to attract a major corporation to come to town, and you'd work for that company for 30 years or more. People have little expectation of working more than 5 years at a company. What people now do is they go where the quality of the community is at its best. And that quality of community is what draws people to live there, and companies are now going where quality employees reside. So our strategy has been, and we'll perhaps have to be able to address it in other questions later on, but the quality of our community is of the utmost importance, so that, aesthetics, the quality of our roads, quality of our parks are of critical importance. When those are addressed and are positive, people will be inclined to live in our community and support and support the economic development of our community as well as the neighborhoods.
Next will be Holly Brinda. Mrs. Brinda?
Well, I agree with everything they both just said. I guess the point I would make is that the image of the city will improve when we improve the city. And Mayor Grace has had almost 12 years to do that. What I've done is proposed a plan to make Elyria city government work for you. You can read it on my website at www.brindaformayor.com. And absolutely in agreement. When we demonstrate that we're more fiscally responsible, open and responsive, safer, able to keep and add jobs, improve our roads, restore our parks and pools, make our downtown and midway area more vibrant, and create opportunities for youth, our image will improve, and I have a plan to do that. But beyond that, there's some specific things that we could be doing that can build on our assets. We have some wonderful things going on in Elyria right now. We have not taken advantage of that. In the 12 years, almost 12 years that Mayor Grace has been in office, the city of Elyria has never had a marketing plan, for example. One of my areas of expertise is in marketing. I think it's imperative that we look at a marketing position strategy for Elyria. One of the things that we know is that to be a player in the global economy, Elyria has to position itself as part of the region. I work in Northeast Ohio. I work in Cuyahoga County. And when I talk to people, we're not even on the radar screen. We haven't done those things to make ourselves visible to those key organizations that can connect us with other resources. So I think defining our marketing strategy, putting a marketing plan together, and then doing some things. We've got some wonderful assets. We don't have a professionals recruitment package. Businesses need tools to go out and recruit professionals to bring them to Elyria. We need a business recruitment package to help bring businesses to Elyria. And then finally, we have retired captains of industry, ambassadors that could come out and attract resources back to our community.
Our fourth question will be presented by Richard Logan, who will be addressing regional government.
Decreasing revenue and increasing sprawl are two factors that are contributing to the decline of Elyria's economy. Regional government, where cities share income taxes and services, has shown to help increase revenue and decrease sprawl for lower income cities. Have you done any research into regional government and the effects it may have for our city?
We will begin with Mayor Grace. Mr. Mayor.
Richard, thank you for that question. One of the early things that I did as I took office as mayor was recognizing that there was an age-old conflict between the city of Elyria and Elyria Township. The city of Elyria has grown historically out of the township through annexations, and that and other areas of conflict created a great deal of tension between the city of Elyria and Elyria Township. And I'll suggest also that it led to differences in levels of success in passing school levies and bond issues for Elyria City School District, in that we share the same school system. One of the first things that we did was we started a dialogue with the township trustees to find out how we can work more collaboratively together. And after about a year's worth of discussions, what evolved from that is creating what's called a joint economic development district. This is a district where the multiple communities, in this case Elyria and Elyria Township, create a taxing authority to propose or to implement income tax in Elyria Township, and there was a sharing between the two communities. So the city of Elyria receives 80% of those funds, the township 20%, and we put an end to disputes with annexation in the process. So that has created a great deal of collaboration and working together between the city of Elyria and Elyria Township, and I believe that support between us helped ultimately pass, I believe, on issue 7 that passed for this Elyria High School. Provides additional revenue and settles disputes between us. So, and it also brings considerable money into our city. In addition to the regional cooperation, we've recently combined our fire dispatch with Lorraine County 911 that ultimately puts 4 firefighters on apparatus, and we're doing now the same, studying the same with our police dispatch. So these collaborations between neighboring communities is going to help us get through this economic downturn and be able to preserve our services for our city with this collaboration.
Next will be Holly Brinda. Mrs. Brinda.
Well, regional collaboration is certainly important. Regions, as I said earlier, rather than cities, are quickly becoming the defining unit in our economy. And regions that align their assets to compete globally are better positioned to grow jobs and increase incomes and attract investments. So to compete at that level, Elyria needs to be more efficient, working towards shared economic development strategies and collaborative partnerships that build our community's best assets. We have started those conversations. Mayor Grace mentioned one of the conversations actually started with Lorraine County Community College with Dr. Church, who is in the process of bringing together health districts, for example, in the county for discussion. Our Elyria police and fire chiefs have been supportive of the idea of collaboration, and in fact we have some collaborative joint efforts with the drug task force and a county dispatch. But there's still a wide range of things that we could be looking at as a community. We need to be looking at healthcare insurance pools, a countywide technology cooperative, infrastructure joint purchasing, expanded group purchasing. There's alternative energy improvement districts that are done in other communities to help save money. Some communities share other types of services like SWAT team resources, etc. And then there's resources associated with economic development organizations that we haven't tapped at all outside of our own community. So these are all things that we need to be looking at. Have we always worked collaboratively? Well, no, we haven't. I mean, JED is an example of some collaboration. Elyria has fought the interchange in Avon. We've also fought a sewer system that's cost us over $800,000 in legal bills over the last year that could have gone into opening pools and other things. So we've got a long way to go, but there are other people in our community opening the doors of collaboration and partnership, and I'm hopeful with everyone working together we'll move in the right direction.
Next will be David Ersie Jr. Mr. Ursi.
Both of them bring up good things. There are things that are being done. I know the police department is getting together with other police departments and the sheriff's department and whatnot. Obviously the fire, I had a house fire back in '05, and they said it was a 5-alarm fire. Well, a couple other fire departments responded to it because where I live in Elyria, it was closer for another department to respond. On my job, we have a term, it's called 8 for 8 and don't be late. And we have to hold each other accountable to give our employer a fair shake. Because my union is in the independent circuit. It's not in the public. And if we don't show a good product, we can be out of a job. This kind of mentality needs to be taken to the city employees. Everyone needs to be streamlined. Staying around for 8 hours and only doing 6 hours of their pay is not going to hit it. Each city employee needs to take responsibility for their time. There again, that moral integrity. You know, that right there is it's a waste of money. There are other cities. Lorraine and Elyria are industrial cities. And there's a lot of partnership that can be done between that. They have the access to the lake, we don't. But we have, they have the Black River too. but there's a lot of partnership going on, and we do need to come alongside, and maybe even with the businesses, God forbid, if we have a little piece of property and they have a little piece of property, we can, entice a business to come here, because I know there's a lot of brains here in Elyria. I know there's a lot of good qualified people that can do great work, so there's no reason why an industrial or any kind of a business would not want to come here. The people of Elyria are just great people. That's all there is to it, and we have the ability, but just a few that give us that black eye.
Our fifth question will be presented by Jesslyn Patel, who will be addressing employment.
With our current economy, jobs have been more difficult for students to find in the city. What is your vision for bringing more business to Elyria and job opportunities for students?
We will begin with Holly Brinda. Mrs. Brinda.
Well, jobs are certainly a challenge right now for everybody, and I sympathize for students looking for jobs. I have children who have been in that position before. But as I said earlier, we need to do a better job in our community of aligning our assets with what the region needs to do to build its future. Elyria has things the region needs. For example, we have advanced manufacturing and renewable solar, biomass, and fuel energy. We have vacant land and green space and brownfields and local food. So all those ingredients go into what we call a sustainable economy. And I don't know, have any of you learned about what a sustainable economy is out there? But that's the wave of a few of you. That's the wave of the future. We need to use these assets to reinforce relationships with economic development organizations. We need to encourage the development of, we talked a little bit about how important it is for Elyria and Lorain to work together, but we need a countywide economic development plan that will help us create more jobs. We need to look at creating opportunities for our youth through, downtown has a lot of, many of you may go downtown, but downtown is starting to dwindle. There are some tools that we could put in place to create business opportunities downtown. For example, my plan has an incentive in there. It's called a Broad Street Business Incentive Program. And it sounds kind of boring, but the bottom line is one of the tools we've never used is creating a financial security through our financial institutions to create a pool of money to give businesses money who are interested in making an investments in Elyria, and that would therefore create jobs. So there's some tools that we can put in place, like financial security. We could attract creative economies downtown. There's lots of things that can be done downtown to attract the arts and film and advertising. Those are things growing in the city of Cleveland with the Film Commission that are moving this way.
Next will be David Ersie Jr.
I don't think I'm sorry. He said it was me next.
It's the mayor.
You're an imposter. It's all right.
Mr. Ursi?
How many would like to be mayor for a day? 48 of you will be allowed to be mayor. We work with me. Write an essay. Send it in. 1 month, one child a month, or one young adult, I should say, a month. You get to ride around with me and see what it's like to be mayor. Just to whet your taste buds, see what kind of opportunities are out there for you. I struggle too. I've been laid off. The economy takes a dump, I get it. But you know what? I'm still able to maintain in my house. We don't have the luxuries that we desire, but we have the essentials. I tried getting a job working here at the high school as a plumber. How many city employees worked in this building? The city does have authority to put a mandate on so many people to be hired. And during this, here's all this money going. It's out of the city. Okay, if there's no one here, there's a couple union contractors, plumbing contractors in the city of Lorain. Gosh, they would love to have some of our money because some of their money can come to us. But I know when we're spending money, we get to choose where it goes. I choose as much as possible to spend it here in Elyria. I don't go I tell you what, when I'm in Elyria, I'm at home. I very seldom leave Elyria. Let's go to work. There's a lot of opportunities for the children. I shouldn't say children. I'm 20 years older than you guys are. There's a lot of opportunities. Where people are trained, people will come to that. They say, you build it, they'll come in. And to have a higher training, I'm very highly trained in my trade. That's why I get the higher pay. We have a lot of knowledge here in this high school within you guys. You have abilities, you have a lot of visions, you guys are pioneers. Don't be afraid, a turtle, before it gets anywhere, sticks its neck out. And there are opportunities here for us. And we should encourage local businesses to hire students, right from our students. Maybe a tax break for them. There's opportunities there for us. We just need to revolutionize some things.
Next will be Mayor Gross. Mr. Mayor.
Time doesn't permit us to necessarily call into question some of what others on the stage may say, but I couldn't help but address one. Mrs. Brinda made a comment a few minutes ago about monies pursued to challenge a sewer district action next to the city of Elyria. We spent considerable money defending our sewer district. We did so with funds that are legally restricted to our sewer department. Saying that we could have used those funds for our swimming pools would be unlawful to do. And it's a lack of understanding like that I haven't been able to question them because of the time permitting, but they've happened numerous times during her remarks and in some of her literature. As it relates to employment, again, nearly everything that we're doing is supporting to create a climate for economic activity, economic development in our community. Quality streets, quality parks, of course, quality schools, those are all integral ingredients to a successful economic development plan. The quality and the appearance of our community are equally important. Things like architectural design review, landscaping along Route 57, those are all things that give a positive impression for people who visit our city to come into our city. We've aggressively sought grants, worked with BASF, a major corporation in town, and were successful with them in acquiring a $25 million federal grant a year ago that has led to a $50 million expansion project here just a few blocks away from us. Our downtown, as I said, our central neighborhood that is the front door in many regards of our community has witnessed over $250 million of improvement in the downtown and the surrounding areas in the last number of years. So those are important things that will be catalysts for economic interest and attention. We collaborate with Team Lorain County, which is our Lorain County Economic Development arm for the area. We work with them almost on a daily basis to follow on leads that come through the state of Ohio, and we follow up on those to help assist those prospective businesses to seek outside sources of help from the state of Ohio.
Our last question will be presented by Danielle Dumsky, who will be addressing State Senate Bill 5.
What is your opinion on Senate Bill 5, and how do you think it will affect the Elyria City Schools and city services?
We will begin with David Ersie Jr. Mr. Ursi.
I signed a petition for SB 5 to vote against it. Mind you, I'm a Republican, but I'm a union by choice. I asked these two individuals, are you guys union members? I know Mr. Noble is. I read in the newspaper, he used to work at Ford, but he got his job, and then he had to join the union. I was a non-union plumber before I joined the union. My goal was to be a union plumber. I tell you right now, SB 5 is not going to go through. There are way too many petitions, and this is where we have the responsibility to redress. When you don't like something, you oppose it, in a civil way, obviously. City employees government employees need to work with. Instead of laying somebody off permanently, what I would do, I would rotate a handful of individuals so they're not out of money. Worst case scenario, they don't run out of benefits like hospitalization, they don't run out of unemployment until the economy got picked back up again. But I tell you right now, Senate Bill 5 will not go through. Will not go through in its writings. And because there's too many people saying this has to stop, this has to stop. And we can't be paying attention to party lines. I almost ran it as an independent because I don't agree with everything the Republicans do. But I am a registered Republican. It's because of the religious right wing. But here again, I'm a union man, Republican, and I've signed SB 5. I am opposed to it. But it's not going to go through. It's not going to go through. The people have spoken.
Next will be Mayor Grace. Mr. Mayor.
I've made statements publicly. It's been printed in the newspaper, and it's been well demonstrated that I oppose Senate Bill 5. It came out, and it was addressed to try to keep some of the costs down for city government and school government, county government, state government, and so on, and it just went incredibly too far. I oppose it. I believe, as Mr. Ursi described, there will be a petition drive that will begin very soon, and it will attempt to put the measure on the ballot so that we can all voters in Ohio can vote on it in November. I believe it will be overturned because of the far-reaching nature of this legislation. Mrs. Brinda, however, I'm not sure what she's going to say. I suspect she'll, given the setting we're in, to say she's opposed to it. But if you look at her 30-or-so page plan that she produced back in February, distributed, there are a number of elements within that document that parallel precisely along the lines of Senate Bill 5. She talks about the unilateral elimination of longevity pay. She talks about merit pay. Merit pay sounds nice in theory, but it doesn't exist in most governments, largely because it's an opportunity for politicians to reward their friends. That's a key provision that Mrs. Brinda supports. She supports the elimination of compensation for sick time that's accumulated that's unused. I mean, this is an area of merit that rewards employees for coming to work and preserving their use of sick time, gives them that incentive to come to work. So, I'm not sure what she's going to say. I suspect she'll say she's against it. But if you look on her website, as you described, and look at her plan, pages, I think they're 3 and 4, you'll see that she has many statements that parallel precisely as Senate Bill 5. And I'm opposed to these unilateral changes. Employees need to be negotiated with. Concessions are often provided by the city employees and school employees.
We will now move to the concluding statements. I'm sorry. Oops. Next will be Brinda. Mrs. Brinda.
Thank you very much. I appreciate Mayor Grace speculating as to how I'll answer that question, but here's what I think about Senate Bill 5. I oppose Senate Bill 5 because I think you can control personnel costs without taking away collective bargaining rights. Incremental changes would have been more easily accepted. A referendum is likely, but I do believe there were some needed adjustments that need to be made. Unfortunately, the bill was so radical that it's likely to be thrown out as part of a referendum process, and the end result will be change for naught and a lot of chaos in the meantime. This is where I think Mayor Grace and I differ. I did take a position on longevity pay. It costs the city of Elyria a lot of money each year. We need to look at rewarding employees in a fair way based on a fair base pay. We need to do a salary study and say, what is a fair base pay for work in industry and other cities, peer cities and cities of like size. With that, it's possible to grandfather in measures that not unilaterally, as he described, change longevity pay, but rather may eliminate it for new employees. That way, it doesn't, in fact, impact current employees who may rely on that income for their income at the present time. It's likely that longevity pay actually will be eliminated as part of Issue 5 if it passes. But and let's assume it does pass, the dilemma is, for a city like Elyria, it will be in total chaos. Other cities that have not taken other measures will be in total chaos because they haven't taken measures to address these issues. I think we should, because it frees up money from other places, $3 million a year that could be put for other purposes. There's other measures in Issue 5 that certainly will have an impact on the city, but that's probably one of the largest. It prevents public workers from striking. It prevents other things. I believe workers do deserve an opportunity to bargain collectively, and I think we can successfully do that.
Mrs. Brinda, you've reached your time limit. We will now move on to the concluding statements.
People in Elyria need to unite. Get to know your candidates. If you don't know one of them, I'm sure someone out there knows one of them and didn't give a personal opinion. But there are a lot of things here going on in Elyria that need to stop. And we need to unity. We need to, for a better of the collective is what we need to do. And I encourage you, young adults, again, I said, get all understanding. It may cost you gold, but wisdom is far supreme. With knowledge, you make an informed decision, and then you have liberties that you can choose later, I just talked to an individual who was just incarcerated recently. He got out. Two of the kids I went to school with are in jail. I mean, like, how much freedom do they have? How much responsibility do they have? But here I am. I have liberties. I have freedoms, My wife and I live on not on a shoestring budget. Here again, I'm a union plumber. My wife works in restaurant management. We make a decent living. We don't have a large house because we don't need it. But there are things that we have. We do have 2 Corvettes. We have 2 boats. And we enjoy things. But you know what? We don't have the money right now because the economy, we're trying to set back, and we want to be able to pay for it. We don't know what it's going to turn out to be. So I just, here again, I'm a grassroots kind of guy. I'm someone stepping to the plate. I'm just tired of what's going on. And if you guys want me to be mayor, I guarantee there will be accountability. I'm not trying to bring my religion to change the city of Elyria, but I do carry it with me. Don't steal, don't lie, and I think everyone wants benefits from that. The moral integrity, I think it's so crucial, so important. Our forefathers had that kind of stuff. And they literally changed the world, not just this country, but the United States has made a tremendous impact in a short amount of time on this world. And it's because of some individuals that kept on sticking to it. My grandfather taught me a word, it's called stick-to-itiveness. If you stick to the same project day in and day out, you'll get your mission accomplished. Trial and error is what it's about. It's what's called stick-to-itiveness. Do not grow weary in doing what is good, for in due season you'll reap a harvest. But sometimes you have to reach out and seek other counsel. I have a go-to guy, a machinist, or a go-to guy, a carpenter, or my pastor's a go-to guy. When I don't know something, I know enough to go ask and get an informed decision. So I leave with that. Thank you.
Next will be Mayor Grace. Mr. Mayor.
To finish up a couple items that were mentioned in the last question relative to longevity, among the things stated was that the city needs to conduct a salary study. The city conducted such a salary study about 2 years ago, year or so ago, that compared the wages of Elyria employees to those of the 6 large cities in Lorain County. And with our high longevity that Mrs. Brinda represented, our employees' average wages are about $1,500 per year. With that longevity, about $1,500 per year less than our peers, other cities in Lorain County. As it relates to longevity also, that she described that we need to eliminate that it's unfair and it's $3 million for the city. It's just a component of our wages, and like I said, combined with the balance of our wages, our employees are $1,500 per year less than other jurisdictions in the city, or in Lorain County. The last element of that is our employees get 20% longevity over a 20-year period, and Ms. Brinda says that's a problem. School employees, of which Mrs. Brinda has been a school board member for the same period of time, 12 years that I've been mayor, receive over 60% longevity over a 13-year period. Now, I don't say that to suggest that that's not appropriate. I believe it is. But school teachers receive 400%, nearly 400% more in longevity. She doesn't say a word about that, yet she's willing to pander to the public that doesn't like longevity and say that it's inappropriate for city employees. I believe that's unfair and part of the reason why longevity has a negative connotation in the city of Elyria. Having said that, what motivated me to run for mayor of Elyria was that for too many years, leaders took the path of least resistance and led the city down a path of doing the bare minimum. The mission was well known to be pick up the garbage and leaves, plow the snow, and call it a day. When I campaigned for mayor 12 years ago, I did so with the message that we can do better, that excellence is not only achievable but necessary. The message of optimism and the pursuit of excellence is what elected me mayor in 1999, and it is that same message and principle that guides me today. I have gained the reputation of continually pursuing excellence in our community. Whether it's beautification projects in and around downtown, or Route 57, or quality construction through architectural design review, improvements to our parks and streets and with existing funding sources or outside grants, whether it's overhauling our water and sewer system and sanitation department, supporting tax increases, yes, to improve our schools, our libraries, parks, streets, and police, or making difficult financial choices to fund these priorities. That is what defines me as mayor of this city. It's these priorities I believe successfully tended to that will make us a thriving community going forward. Please make no mistake, we are making great progress as a community. We are turning around years and years of neglect, and we are on a clear path of success. My administration's record of accomplishment is extensive, and we continue to get better as we go. In a nutshell, I believe that is largely why people vote for Mayor Grace or vote against me, is for these very issues. Mrs. Brinda's campaign is comprised of unfounded attacks and platitudes and empty promises for the future. This is no time to experiment with someone so unprepared and untested. This election is about making a choice. The choice of Bill Grace, who represents an agenda of success through excellence, or a choice of Holly Brinda, who represents a retreat backward to the days of taking the path of least resistance by simply doing the bare minimum. I have worked relentlessly these 11 years that I have served and been honored to serve as your mayor, and if re-elected, I will continue to build on that knowledge, the skills and relationships I have developed to continue to improve our city. To the residents of Elyria, I thank you for the opportunity that you've given me to serve our city, and I respectfully ask that you support me in this election so that together we can continue to make Elyria the great city that we all believe it can be. Thank you.
Next will be Holly Brinda. Mrs. Brinda?
Thank you. And just for clarification, back to the longevity issue, Elyria has the highest cap of any city other than Mansfield in the state of Ohio. Mayor Grace didn't do a survey, he did a phone poll. And there are some issues associated with that would still free up $3 million. Anyway. Like you, I'm proud of Elyria, but despite all of our strengths, our city is no longer working for us. We've lost trust in city government. We've experienced wasteful spending in the Grace administration's misguided priorities, placing aesthetics over basic city services and business development. We've been asked to provide input only to see our suggestions ignored. We've seen our tax dollars move from one department to another, hiding precious resources so they can be spent on the mayor's inflated travel allowance or a new city seal. And most damaging, using the divide and conquer mentality instead of true leadership, pitting fire and police departments against each other in the public arena to wrestle for public support. In his attempt to control, our mayor is jeopardizing our safety and our property. Illyrians have spoken by saying no at the ballot box 88% of the time. With a less than 12% approval rating, the only hope to restore trust in our city's safety and vitality is new leadership. Elyria City Government, under Holly Brinda's leadership, will earn back the community's trust and confidence. I'll accomplish this by conducting government openly and responsibly. I'll apply best management practices and hold myself to a higher standard. And I'll stand up to Elyria equipped with a vision and a plan that is shaped and supported by you, our citizens. The plan will set clear priorities and a realistic budget based on principles our parents taught us: working hard, being accountable, and living within our means, being disciplined to do what's most important first, listening to others, and caring and helping others despite our differences, and being truthful, honest, and open. In fact, I'll donate $5,000 of my salary back to the city each year. As your new mayor, I will use my knowledge and experience in public administration to professionalize City Hall. I'll bring in the best and brightest and build new kinds of working relationships needed to address the city's most serious challenges and capitalize on our most promising opportunities. Working together across party and municipal lines and with employees, citizens, businesses, and civic leaders and regional partners, the Brinda administration will remove obstacles that prevent our city from realizing its potential. To me, being a successful mayor means a mayor who believes strongly that government must be conducted openly and transparently if it's going to gain the trust of the people. It means a mayor who listens and understands the importance of engaging citizens in two-way dialogue to help shape and build consensus for public decisions. It means a mayor who is accountable to you for every tax dollar and fosters a city government that is efficient, effective, performance-based, and outcome-driven. It means a mayor who is willing to tackle big and unaccountable accountable government, budget deficits, and declining revenues. Someone who has a regional perspective and knows how to work in partnership with the larger community. It means a mayor who will put safety first and work tirelessly to help every neighborhood in our downtown and mall areas become safe, welcoming, and full of hope and opportunity. It means a mayor willing and anxious to work collaboratively with employee groups and communities to develop a strategy for fiscal strength and provide fair wages and benefits that reward hard work. It means a mayor who will work with our business community to help our local businesses thrive and reinforce relationships with our community college and other area economic development organizations to leverage the city's economic development resources to attract new businesses and new jobs. It means a mayor that understands that our quality of life is dependent on the quality of our parks, our environment, and our community traditions and opportunities. It means a mayor that recognizes the importance of telling Elyria's story to our citizens, the region, and the world. Elyria is our city, kids. It's our home, it's our haven, it's our pride and joy, and it's time for a mayor who can build trust and get our city moving in the right direction. I want you to know I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I'm willing to work with anyone who's willing to put Elyria first. I humbly ask you to cast your vote for Holly Brinda on May 3rd. Thank you.
That concludes the debate for Elyria's mayoral race. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our candidates for participating in this debate. We would also like to thank the Elyria High School Student Council for organizing this event. Thank you to our audience for being attentive to the subjects brought to you this morning. And I will now turn things over to Mr. Shepka for dismissal from the auditorium.
First of all, congratulations to all of you. There's always fears and stuff of everybody's going to do what they did, and you actually did exactly what I had anticipated and knew you were going to do, so thank you very much. You're awesome. How about our questioners? Mr. Young, of course. Okay, and it is about 10 o'clock, so we are going to have you report to your third period class.